Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Howery from the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. I'll be talking about the news that transpired last week in the world of the NBA. But if you guys haven't checked out episode 64, it's now available on our Instagram account and our Apple Podcast account. It was a good episode. We gave out fantasy tips for you guys watching and listening that might be doing a fantasy draft within the next couple of days since the NFL season is right around the corner. We had some good NFL conversations for the things that could happen heading into the season. So check out episode 64 when it's now available on our Instagram account and our Apple Podcast account. So the bonus content I have for you guys today, I will be sharing my thoughts on the NBA news that transpired last week. So obviously I covered the 2-year anniversary of the NBA bubble, and I shared my thoughts on the NBA bubble. And I talked about in the bonus content that nothing has really been happening, transpiring in the NBA world. So I'm going to be covering the top 3 stories, the good news, the bad news, and the news that does not make sense to me. I'll be sharing my thoughts in this video. So first off, I'll be talking about Kevin Durant staying with the Brooklyn Nets. On Tuesday, General Manager Sean Marks said Kevin Durant will remain with the franchise for this upcoming season. So my thoughts on this has to go, Kevin Durant requesting a trade has to go down as one of the biggest teases in NBA offseason history. Why is that? You're talking about Kevin Durant, one of the best scorers of all time, arguably the best player on the planet. He's still 33 years of age. He'll be 34 years of age heading into the season. Still well in his prime and can be an MVP when given the opportunity, being healthy on any basis, at any time, any place, any season. He can be an MVP. And we're talking about Kevin Durant, a player that has never been traded in his NBA career. Well, he had the chance to this summer when he requested a trade. He wanted out of Brooklyn. We're talking about teams that he could have obviously took to the promised land and helped them win a championship. We're talking about the Phoenix Suns. He could have teamed up with Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul in Phoenix. We're talking about Miami, where he could have potentially teamed up with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo in South Beach with the Miami Heat. We're talking about even the possibility of him and Jason Tatum and company teaming up to play together in Boston. And it just didn't happen. Or I should also say the Grizzlies. Imagine him and John Morant teaming up with each other in Memphis. All these possibilities, it didn't happen because Kevin Durant teased us the entire summer. From the end of June all the way until now, we were thinking Kevin Durant was going to play for a different team. And obviously that's not the case because Kevin Durant is going to be staying put in Brooklyn. So does Kevin Durant really want to stay with the Brooklyn Nets? My answer to that is obviously no. You're talking about Kevin Durant, who his ego is so big. He's such a prideful person. He won't come out and say he regrets leaving the Golden State Warriors, but we all know that he regrets leaving the Golden State Warriors. He was a part of one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. In my opinion, the greatest dynasty that we have seen in the 21st century when we're talking about when we're talking about basketball. He was teamed up with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, had Steve Kerr as his head coach. It doesn't get much better than that. He won 2 championships. There's only 2 championships he's won in his career with the Golden State Warriors. A Finals MVP. He is dying to have those moments back, and especially because the time is ticking. He will be 34 by the beginning of the season. Kevin Durant is wanting to close out his prime years with championships and getting closer than what he has gotten to winning championships, at least than what he's done in Brooklyn. Do you mean to tell me that Kevin Durant really wants to stay with Kyrie Irving? Do you mean to tell me that Kevin Durant wants to stay with Ben Simmons, who has yet to play in a Brooklyn Nets uniform? Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn to build his own mega team. He got Kyrie Irving to play with him. A year later, he got his guy, James Harden, to play with him. Those 3 had so much potential together. They could have at least won 1 championship together. Never got to a conference finals. Never got to an NBA championship together. Matter of fact, they didn't even last 2 years because James Harden was traded for Ben Simmons. And Kevin Durant is all behind all this. And there's no way he wants to stay when you have a part-time basketball. We're talking about 2 part-time basketball players in Kyrie Irving, who shows up to work when he wants to. And we're talking about Ben Simmons, who shows up to work but performs when he wants to. He puts in the work when he wants to. I don't want to hear all the glitz and glamour that he's been putting in the weight room this NBA all season. He might be getting a little bigger, might have put 10, 15 pounds of weight on him. Muscle weight, I should say. But that's not buying it for me, and that's not buying that Kevin Durant wanted to stay in Brooklyn. Hell, Kyrie Irving was trying to find his way out of Brooklyn, find his way to LA to play with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. So I don't want to hear that Kevin Durant's happy. I don't want to hear that Kevin Durant wants to stay with Brooklyn, because we all know the writing on the wall. He wants out, and he couldn't find his way out. And I think reality hit him in the face. Kevin Durant said he would stay with the Brooklyn Nets if Steve Nash and Sean Marks were gone. Now, in my opinion, I think Steve Nash is a great head coach. I don't understand what the problem is with all these stars in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, obviously, not getting along with the way that Steve Nash is coaching. I think when you're talking about one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, you're putting his basketball IQ onto a clipboard. He's calling plays on the sideline. He's found a lot of success with the Brooklyn Nets so far in his coaching career. And I think he's doing one hell of a job putting up with all these divas, I should say, on the sidelines. Divas not performing. Divas wanting to be traded. He's done one heck of a job as the Brooklyn Nets head coach. So I'm a believer in Steve Nash coaching. Now, why all these players don't get along with him and don't like what he's doing, I don't know. I'm not on the NBA sidelines. I'm just saying from my perspective. But I don't understand that Kevin Durant could throw his weight around and say he wants both of these guys gone. You're talking about possibly a rebuilding year if you have your head coach gone and GM gone in the same year. That wasn't happening. And I think the reason why Kevin Durant truly is still in Brooklyn, even though he wanted to get traded this NBA offseason, no NBA team was willing to trade their whole entire team away to get Kevin Durant. I'm talking about the Brooklyn Nets offered a trade deal to the Minnesota Timberwolves to get Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Would you do that? 2 young stars for a guy who could fall off in the next 3 to 4 years? I'm not doing that. We seen the Miami Heat. They wanted Bam Adebayo. Obviously, the Heat weren't trying to get into that. From Phoenix, they wanted Devin Booker, who just signed a 4-year extension this year. That wasn't happening. It was just so many possibilities that Kevin Durant thought he could really throw his weight around and get to point A to point B, and no NBA teams were willing to blow up their whole entire core, just their game one player, and potentially only have him for a good 3 to 4 years left in his prime. I think that's what's happening, and I think that's the reason why Kevin Durant wasn't traded. Kevin Durant will be 34 years of age this upcoming NBA season. His prime years could be wasted in Brooklyn if you're going to have 2 part-time players, 2 divas, Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. So hopefully they put 110% into their work ethic this season to help Brooklyn win a championship. Do I think they could do it? Yes, but it all starts with those 2 other star players that's alongside Kevin Durant. It starts with Kyrie Irving not missing games. It starts with Ben Simmons wanting to put in the work and be all in for the Brooklyn Nets. It all starts with the team not falling apart due to the drama that they have obviously built this NBA offseason. I just don't see them winning a championship this year. I could see them being a top seed in the East, but I don't see them going farther than the second round, if that. We'll see. Time will tell, but I don't think Kevin Durant is happy that he will be in a Brooklyn Nets uniform come opening night. Next news, we have the Los Angeles Lakers that traded for Patrick Beverley. The Lakers traded Taylor Horton-Tucker and forward Stanley Johnson to the Jazz to acquire Patrick Beverley. I like Patrick Beverley with the Lakers. However, how in the hell are Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook supposed to be teammates after all their beef, all the years of beefing around the NBA, especially back in the day when Patrick Beverley was a member of the Houston Rockets and Russell Westbrook was a member of OKC. Those were the days these guys wanted to, if they were in the streets, they would have been fighting each other. If they were in a boxing ring, they would have been throwing some heavy hands. These guys don't like each other. How the hell can you have these guys as teammates? And the only person that's really behind all the scenes of any trade that's happening with the Los Angeles Lakers is LeBron James. So LeBron James is behind this. Why would you have Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley on the same team? I just don't understand it. What happens now that they're on the same team? And if they don't trade Russell Westbrook? Can you imagine losing a game by 30? You have these two on the sidelines fighting during timeouts, fighting that even have possession of the ball and control the offense when both of them are on the court. Because you know Patrick Beverley at this point in his career is not willing to come off the bench if he has a chance to play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis in back in Los Angeles, not with the Clippers, but with the Lakers. He's trying to get them a championship. He's trying to keep the rivalry going and say, hey, the Lakers are the best team in LA, not the Clippers. He's not going to be willing to come off the bench. It's going to be interesting how this turns out, because Patrick Beverley could ultimately decide Russell Westbrook's future for this upcoming season. Now, obviously, the Lakers tried everything they could this summer to trade Westbrook. This wasn't happening contract-wise. Nobody wanted to take on Russell Westbrook's huge, massive contract. It just wasn't happening. But if you have Patrick Beverley decide Russell Westbrook's fate this upcoming season, I'm hearing rumors and speculation that the Lakers will trade Westbrook by opening night or sometime down the line before the season starts. And if you do a situation to him, you have Russell Westbrook sit home for an entire year, just like what the Houston Rockets did to John Wall this past season. That's going to be a damn shame. And there's no way that these two are going to be teammates. I just can't see it. Patrick Beverley is an annoying pest that is a defensive beast, but he has the basketball IQ of you would think, a top 5 player in this league. He's going to be out there coaching Anthony Davis, telling him what to do in the post. He's going to be telling LeBron James how to play his own game. And not that many people have done that in LeBron James' career. The only name I can remember being that coaching ear for LeBron James, like a leader, was Rajon Rondo when he spent that time with the Los Angeles Lakers. So it's going to be interesting to see what really happens. I just can't see them being teammates in LA. And then on to the worst news of the week, in my opinion, was the Chet Holmgren injury. This is so unfortunate. The kid has so much upside in his game. He has a huge amount of potential. This was arguably the greatest star that OKC has drafted since Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, that were all drafted once upon a time with the Oklahoma City Thunder. The foot injury will keep Chet Holmgren out for the entire season, and it's unfortunate because this foot injury happened not in a gym when he was grinding for this upcoming season, not in the weight room where he should be grinding for this upcoming season. This happened as something that you should not be doing, in my opinion, if you're an NBA player during the summer. His foot injury happened during a Pro AM game guarding LeBron James. Now, it was obviously an accident, but it's something you don't want to see. And I know the Oklahoma City Thunder organization has to be sick to their stomach. They landed their guy. They landed their whole entire guy that they're going to build the franchise around with all them draft picks they're going to have for the next few years. All those young stars that they already had. And then you just lost your best player, Chet Holmgren, with an injury. And it's just so unfortunate because they already limited how many games he played in the summer league, but you didn't do a good job in limiting how much time he's doing outside of your organization grinding. You didn't do a good job watching him, in my opinion. It's so unfortunate this having a pro AM game. And in my opinion, I don't think NBA organizations should they all should make sure players do not play in pro AM games for the rest of the summer, because something like that can affect your whole entire franchise. And we've just seen this happen to an up-and-coming Thunder team that has done a lot of time rebuilding, and they just landed their biggest star today. I just said, drafting-wise, since KD, Westbrook, and Harden were drafted for the Thunder. So I don't think they should play in the league. We're talking about guys like LeBron James, DeMar DeRozan, Apollo Ben Chiro. I can't barely say his last name, but he was a second overall pick in this the latest draft this summer for the Orlando Magic. DeAndre Murray. We're talking about all these caliber star players that could affect all these franchises, the Lakers, the Bulls, the Magic, the Hawks this upcoming season, off of a silly injury playing against guys that have full-time jobs in the real world outside of being a pro athlete. Guys that could be working a FedEx job 9 to 5. A office job 9 to 5. Like, why are you having your star players play against guys who are not NBA players? It just doesn't make sense. And I have no problem with Jokic and Giannis competing against each other in the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifier game in overtime. You're playing for something that matters for a country. You're playing against real basketball competition, not in a pro AM game. And I don't have a problem with those two guys doing it, but it's not worth the risk. At this point, all competition should stop with NBA players playing in pro AM games. It's just not smart. It's not a good business decision. But that's the news I feel on all the latest news that's transpired this week. That's all the time I have for you guys. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. Check out episode 64 if you guys haven't. and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.